Hey everyone, welcome to Marvel Time issue number 95. I am Mac, that's Ben. We are going to talk about some Marvel comics from this week, some Marvel news, and the second episode of She-Hulk on Disney Plus, which some interesting things to talk about there for sure. I'm looking forward to that. But let's get started off with this week's comics. Let's jump right into it here. Let's start off with Avengers Forever number 8. I feel like we took a little bit of a break on this story. I don't remember the last time we talked about this one on here, but it definitely wasn't number 7. I can tell you that because I was not sure how we got to this point. But it was also a very self-contained story. So
well, I think they all are. I think they're all they're all these origin stories for these different sort of Avengers. So, like this one was Thor. Next week, it looks like some sort of Captain Marvel variant, maybe, or next month. So, yeah, I mean, because, we've had the one with Ghost Rider, Black Panther, I believe, a variant of that. So, I think that's what this is. It's just sort of all these one-offs.
Well, they are pulling together, as we see in this issue. They're pulling together. It's they're assembling, I suppose, is the word to go with.
Yeah, it seems like it tells a story, a self-contained story, and then last page, Scooby-Doo comes up with the mystery machine, and they all get in it, and then they'll go. At some point, this will lead to something.
Yeah. I mean, the way you summed that up right there is kind of how I felt about it too. It was kind of like this was a typical Thor story, and then they, predictably sort of tie everything together at the end. It was fine. I didn't dislike it. Just, didn't really stand out in a week of, with a lineup that I thought was really strong, some really good comics. And another one where there were 4 or 5 different comics that we are not talking about today that we easily could have picked on a given week. But so yeah, this Avengers Forever number 8 was good. I would have been interested to see Thor become the Iron Fist. I think that was sort of the path, the story of this particular issue is Thor is no longer worthy of Mjolnir, a story we've heard 100 times. And they kind of go off into a different direction a little bit, but would have been interesting. Yeah, it was okay, I think is pretty much the summary.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean it was fine. It was nice because it was self-contained, so it was kind of like
easy to follow for sure.
Story, it was just
So I'm really interested, by the way, to get your pick of the week this week, because I feel like any of the next 4 could easily be it. And our first one we're going to talk about here is Fantastic Four number 46. Continuing a story we stopped a while ago at this point. There's a plot point in this that they resolved that feels like it kicked off a year ago. And that involves Johnny Storm, but yeah,
I mean, this is sort of the end of Dan Slott's run, so sort of resetting the Fantastic Four, kind of setting them off the next charted course, resolves those sort of outstanding issues. We still have the 2 kids; they're not going anywhere. It's not a complete sort of start over, but this is, we just had the Reckoning War. This is sort of okay, we did that. Now let's get these guys kind of buttoned up and sent on the next adventure. So, yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. It did what it needed to do. I guess I just felt it felt like an epilogue instead of an issue.
Sure. Yeah.
And we just had the Reckoning War. Hello from Wyoming.
Hi Sonia and hi Steven.
So yeah, I think it just sort of felt like it didn't set up enough of what the future is, yet it didn't, it kind of, we already wrapped up the Reckoning War, and I mean, sort of depower, the sort of magical depowering of Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Fantastic Four to me has been the best with the Ben Grimm stuff with his 2 adopted kids. This Kree Skrull. I think that's where it's been because it's kind of grounded with, I mean, not as much as a Kree Skrull adopted child are, but I think that was a good, that I hope continues sort of on. It doesn't get sort of left when it picks up a new creative team.
Yeah, I would think they'll at least keep some element of that together, and I like you said, I hope they at least give some of the spotlight to it going forward. But yeah, I liked this issue. I thought it was good. You're right; it is more of an epilogue than anything else. But it does what the Fantastic Four typically does, and it tells you like a nice family story that's very intimate, while at the same time like getting very strange and just like fighting Psycho Man in a subatomic realm, like just crazy stuff, but also really like this sentiment of just a family story is there. So it was very much your Fantastic Four story, and I think a good way for Dan Slott to wrap things up.
And put there's a spoiler on the cover, so
I guess that's true, huh? Yeah, I didn't even really think about that. All right, our next issue, and now I think these three are some of the best we've read in a while. To be honest, I think this was a really good week for comics. Damage Control #1 from the creators of the Goldbergs. This was really interesting. It's funny. I was having a conversation about Damage Control recently, actually with Mike Celestino, and how we'd like to see. He brought up the idea of wanting to see a Damage Control video game based on the Damage Control we're seeing in the MCU. And I was like, I want one based on the comic version that's like just hilarious and them just cleaning up messes. But yeah, so it was cool to get a new Damage Control comic this week.
Yeah, this is my pick of the week, actually.
Nice.
And I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure if this was going to be a one. It kind of felt like when you're reading it, it was a one shot, and then it has a to be continued at the end, and you're like, oh wait, okay. Like, and I mean, in a good way. It doesn't, it introduces a sort of new intern who doesn't really care. I mean, he's not a slacker, but he's, it's kind of like that guy at Disney who got the job because he needed a job, not because he always wanted to work his whole life at Disney. And the sort of craziness you would think would happen at a Shield adjacent place like Damage Control. It's funny. It doesn't. It might be too funny, like too silly for some people.
Yeah.
But it's funny because to me it's like, well, yeah, like they still will go to Starbucks, like like crazy people still have normal experiences. So I think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like they're still gonna spell your name wrong even if you're a superhero. Just ask Moob Knife over there.
Yeah. And everyone in this cover actually is in this issue.
Yeah, that's very true. In one way or another, they make an appearance. This comic is just absolutely ridiculous and hilarious, and it feels sort of like a comic book adaptation of The Office set in the Marvel universe. Like it's sort of like that ridiculous sort of comedy, and it was really fun. I really liked it. At the time of reading this was my pick of the week. Unfortunately, we had two more comics to go after it, so it didn't hold up after those. But I really like this one, and I will say there's a bonus story in this too. Still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first story more. I didn't really like the bonus as much, but it was still fun and ridiculous too. So yeah, it was really cool. Also, just fun anytime you get to see all of those characters thrown into one place.
Absolutely.
Next, we have The Amazing Spider-Man #8, and continuing the story of Peter reuniting with Norman Osborn, which is always interesting. How'd you feel about this one?
I like this one too. It's definitely just sort of mostly a beat 'em up story, and then sort of ends with a change in the dynamic between Peter and Norman. I mean, the kind of a spoiler on the cover too, but he's continuing the sort of battle with the Vulture we had in the last issue, and sort of classic Spider-Man villain banter. Is the bulk of what this issue is. This isn't a story. It's sort of like I think we like X-Men, where it's like too much happens in any one issue. This one, something happens, but most of it's just fun comic book stuff. And what do you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I will say at the time of reading this was my pick of the week, and then there was another comic to go after that. But I really like this. I like where this story is going. All this stuff with Norman Osborn has been great. The interactions between him and Peter, specifically Peter too. Like it feels much more personal that he's calling him Peter and not Spider-Man. And there's all that history between these two characters. in so many different ways. And then, I mean, there's just really awesome images in this too. Like you talked about the classic Spider-Man stuff, seeing him one-on-one with Vulture, is very, nostalgic in a way. And then there's also this new imagery, like you see on the cover here with this new suit and the glider. And it's really weird to see Spider-Man on a glider and using all this tech and stuff, but still just, makes for some really, really awesome pages. So yeah, I really like this one. Like I said, very close to being my pick of the week, but one more issue for us to talk about, and that is Axe Judgment Day #3. And I am absolutely on board with this crossover event. I've been loving every single part of it. How do you feel about it? Are you as
I like the event. I don't know if I love this issue though. This might be a like, not love. I just felt that there wasn't enough progress, I guess.
Sure.
And I feel like, I mean, there's sort of a twist in this issue.
Yeah.
But it's all within this issue. And so you sort of end where you began in many ways. I mean, there's some stuff going on in the mutant world, which we've sort of talked about. It's not my favorite part of this event. So, but yeah, I mean, maybe you can broaden my appreciation for it.
Well, I mean, they make you think there's a lot of progress, right? And then turns out there's not so much. And there's so many different huge powers at play that it's kind of hard to tell what the ultimate power is until they absolutely let you know in this one. There's also just so many interesting characters in play right now. Sinister has been really, really awesome and gets more intriguing in this issue. You've got Druig, who is like supposed to be the mastermind, but losing confidence with every page and just sort of like falling apart. You've got Uranos, who has potentially a big role to play. You've got this big celestial. I mean, Tony, obviously at the center of it, Cap. The fact that, so let's just to sort of recap a little bit where this event is at. This new celestial, or old celestial reborn, I guess, is threatening to judge Earth and judge every person individually. And the first character they judge is Captain America, and he gets the thumbs down. So like, where is the hope for anyone else if Cap gets the thumbs down? So, and that's just sort of gives you that, that feeling that these big crossover events always give us at one point or another, where like the big bad is, has this power, and you're like, well, your gut just sinks, like it's over. There's no way they can possibly win this. Of course, we know they're going to win this one way or another, but so it hit that moment here, and then I think they gave us some really interesting Eternal stuff to wrap up this issue. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here too. So I really liked it. I do agree. I liked the previous 2 issues more, but I think I'm just so, sucked into this event right now that I'm just enjoying every part of it.
That's great. Yeah, I guess, I guess I'm just concerned that the event gets out of whack. And, this was I think Wisely was the only issue we had this week, where it was
no tie-in,
like a lot of tie-ins or anything.
Yeah, right.
And so I think it kind of gave it some focus. So I just kind of felt we were going to take another step. And yeah, I mean, the Cap stuff was great. Like I felt it started strong, and then in the end, you're like, okay, well, what's the, they'll have those sort of, what I like is it has this sort of real world people in it, kind of giving you their perspective. Yeah. I felt like you need another page of that sort of again to kind of hit it home.
Yeah, especially after that big twist we talked about, to see sort of what their reaction was, because Cap makes mention of it, but we don't get to see it. So that would have been cool. You're right about that. But I have been liking that aspect of the event too, and hope to see more of it going forward. All right, let's change gears from comics to the MCU, and let's talk about this week's episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the 2nd episode on Disney+. And we got to see this guy pop up, as we knew was coming, but, cool. It's still cool to see a returning familiar face. How'd you like this episode?
I liked it, and I didn't realize how much I liked it until the end, where it ends and you're like, oh, like you just kind of felt like I wanted more. Yeah. So I liked it. I just, before I do want to give poor CJ's commenting here. It would be
Oh, yeah.
cool if that sounds like a lot of complicated negotiations, but we'll. I mean, I would have said that about Spider-Man and the X-Men, so who knows?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it was interesting because we knew Wong showing up and we knew Emil Blonsky showing up, so based off what we saw in Shang-Chi, it makes sense that they're all going to kind of come together here. But it was, he does have a good point. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily agree, that it wasn't all his fault, but
Yeah.
it was. I mean, talk about a throwback to the second MCU movie, the sort of long forgotten one.
Yeah.
And there's a fun sort of like Bruce, he makes these like haikus, right? And that he goes, Jen's concerned that representing him, it would upset Bruce and all this stuff. And Bruce is like, oh, it feels like a totally different person, which is like such a meta gag, yet still, but done in a way that it's, even if you don't get it, it's still just like, okay, yeah, it's a long time ago.
Right. Yeah.
It works on sort of both levels.
Well, I didn't even catch it the first time, but right after he says that, she literally looks into the camera and goes, ha ha. So it's just like, okay, yeah, they really lean into that in this show. And I love that. I love that sort of humor. So it really,
this might be the first MCU show episode outside of ones where I saw a screener and then waited for it to come, where I'm like dead set to watch it again tonight. Because you have the 7 a.m. watch where it's like, okay, like it's early, but I want to see it before I get spoiled. And then you're like, okay, no, I should like do this in the heat of the day too.
Right. Where you're really paying attention to it and catch all the other stuff. Speaking of, there's a lot of Marvel Comics stuff in this particular episode. We meet a couple of characters. Well, I guess we kind of met him in the first episode, but Holden Holloway, the I guess head of GLK&H, who hires Jen Walters in this episode. He is a major character in Dan Slott's run from 2004 on She-Hulk, something like that, right around there. So we see him, we get to know him a little bit more, and then they also meet Pug, another character from Dan Slott's run, who is hilarious. I think it's Steven Segarra, I think is his name, is the actor. He's hilarious. He's been in a lot of comedies. Really, really like him. So, yeah, cool to see those two characters. I saw Dan Slott on Twitter was really excited to see those characters pop up, and that's always fun to see too. There were a couple of interesting Easter eggs, and I will give credit to our own Jeremiah for pointing these out to me, because I did not catch them on my first watch. But I don't know if you saw these. While Jen is scrolling through looking for another job, you can kind of see in the related articles over here, man fights with metal claws in bar brawl. Nice little Wolverine nod there. Also, this one here, I love this too. Why there is a giant statue of a man sticking out of the ocean. People have sort of made fun of the MCU on Twitter a little bit. Like, how is nobody, paying attention to this giant person coming out of the ocean right now? But they finally have some sort of mention of it. So there you go. An Eternals callback there. Also, the Iron Man 3s are on sale, so if anybody wants to pick those up. So yeah, pretty cool Easter eggs. Also,
is that the QR code for a comic?
Yes, exactly. I have not downloaded it yet myself, but that is up there right now. If you want to take advantage, try and scan it here. I know it's always difficult because they always put it at a little bit of an angle, but you can try and scan it yourself here.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, it's always tricky because the QR is at an angle and this phone doesn't really want to scan it. But yeah, you can get a new She-Hulk comic there. And
did they have one in the first episode?
There was one, yeah. When was it? I can't remember. I'll have to go back and find it.
This started with Moon Knight and it was in Ms. Marvel too, right?
Yes, yeah, they've done it since Moon Knight, since the start of Moon Knight, which is really cool. I like that they're doing stuff like this. It would be kind of funny if they, started putting that in movies. Then you got people taking out their phones in all the movies trying to scan QR codes.
That would not be funny.
So yeah, what else on this week's episode of She-Hulk? I mean, we talked about Abomination, all the stuff with him. You see him in his cell, and you can tell right away that is where we saw him going back in Shang-Chi. after the fight with Wong. So you kind of are tying together this story here. And I will not say any more about that.
Well, I think getting half of Perfect Strangers back was my shock. I don't know if we knew this, but having her dad.
Oh yeah.
be played by none other than Mark Lynn Baker, the screen partner of Bronson Pinchot, who played Larry Appleton in Perfect Strangers. Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
He is also hilarious in this show too. So the casting in this show has just been awesome.
I also think it's funny, just like they're sitting around, like, can you imagine being the cousins? Like, presumably his wife, or
yeah,
like I don't know if it's if Bruce is like the daughter of his sister or
right. Yeah, they don't really lay out the family tree for us here. I wasn't really sure how to refer to anyone at that table.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, that was sort of a neat way to make it kind of really feel like a 30-minute comedy.
There is sort of the elephant in the room too that I feel like a lot of people are going to be talking about from this episode, and that is the continuation of that seed they planted last week with Hulk and the Sakaran ship.
Yep.
Turns out he is now on board a Sakaran ship and going off to handle some things. He said he won't be back for a minute, so looks like they are moving in that direction. We just don't know exactly how. I know they have said, I am going to blank on her name now, the head writer of the show, Gao. I can't remember her first name now. I'm just completely blanking.
Jessica Gao.
Jessica Gao, yes. She said that this show will not be continuing the World War Hulk, well, I don't think she said World War Hulk, but Hulk story in general. This is a She-Hulk show. It's going to follow her. So I think we've seen the last of Bruce Banner in this show. So don't expect, World War Hulk to be playing out in this show. But it looks like they might be moving in that direction in the future for the MCU. We just don't know when just yet. Yeah, that is our breakdown of this week's episode of She-Hulk. We'll have a more in-depth conversation on Zacks of Life, which you'll be able to check out on Monday. Let's get into some Marvel news for this week, and we'll kind of go right off of She-Hulk here. Did you see this yesterday, by the way? This was awesome. They have done such an amazing job with the marketing for this show, and yesterday, I think, just put it over the top. So this was the way this was done. First, the She-Hulk Twitter account tweeted out a video of Titania hanging posters of herself over this She-Hulk ad. And the way that I saw it, a fan replied to it and was like, I really hope that's actually Jamila Jamil. And then she replied from her Twitter account with this picture and said the name's Titania. So it was her just there vandalizing this She-Hulk ad, which I thought was so cool.
And I was so surprised that she's not in the episode this week. Like, I felt like this was going to be, it was going to continue that because
right.
Like the marketing push. I mean, not because anything narrative, but I just felt like, oh, okay. They're pushing her, and then she wasn't there.
Yeah, I think they can do a really cool job of storytelling outside of the show here. And such a creative way to do this. So I like the way they're doing this. And I've seen the first 4 episodes. I won't say anymore. So I just really like this. I love Jamila Jamil, by the way. She's hilarious. And I think the fact that she's willing to commit to this character like this is so cool. Next, we have some news about SpiderMan, kind of. SpiderMan No Way Home will be coming back to theaters with the More Fun Stuff edition. This is coming September 2nd. Tickets are on sale now. This is going to be an extended version of the movie. I guess just some more deleted scenes and stuff that they'll add back into it. They did release this poster, which obviously gives away much, much more about the movie than anything we saw in any of the posters before. Obviously, the 2 other Spider-Men are there. You can actually, if I'll zoom in a little bit here, you can see Charlie Cox in there. Wong is in there, and then all the villains, of course. So a lot more thrown into this fun poster. And again, September 2nd, which is this next Friday, you can go see Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters again with some more fun stuff. I like that they just call it the more fun stuff edition. Don't get creative with it.
Yeah, well, no, it was. I bought my tickets because we have Andor this week. I mean, not Marvel, but we have Andor re-release this week. We have Spider-Man No Way Home re-release September 2nd. Then we have Avatar coming the end of September. So, while there's no movies coming out, at least it's nice that there's something to go see if you want to get out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah, very
true.
true.
The game has a good point here. I felt the same way. Like, is she, I mean, now, granted, she was drunk. I was kind of like drunk and desperate. But,
right.
You're like, I kind of feel like she was pretty quick at just taking that job, and not like and then being shocked that it had something to do with her being She-Hulk when.
Right. Yeah. Well, I kind of felt like there were 2 little lines thrown in that kind of redeemed, like Holden Holloway is kind of built up to be sort of this bad guy, right? Like he just wants She-Hulk. He doesn't really care about Jen. And, he's like a business guy. But there's these 2, like every time he offers her something, like before they cut away, he throws in a like, take some time to think about it. Or like, let me know what your decision is. Like just to sort of redeem him a little bit. So it's pretty funny.
Like I imagine that's what, like it's practical. Like it's not like he's not like or he's not a villain in that like he's making her do anything.
Right, exactly.
Like if it's like this is the job, if you want it, fine. You don't want it, fine. This is it's not like he's like Obadiah where it's like he tries to kill you. It's just like
right.
If you don't want it, that's okay.
And to defend Jen just a little bit, she did get Nikki a job. She made sure she did that. So
like when she said, "I don't care," I was like, "Oh, you have some negotiating power here." Like,
right. Elsewhere in the MCU, we learned that Thor: Love and Thunder will be coming for home release on 4K September 8th, and then on DVD and Blu-ray September 27th. Also on Disney Plus on September 8th. So it won't be too long before you get to hear some screaming goats again. I hope somebody clips that as your screaming goat impression.
Cinematic Universe edition, as opposed to the one that doesn't take place in the Cinematic Universe?
I didn't even realize that is what they're calling it. That's, yeah, okay. Outside of the MCU, we've got the multiverse role-playing game. We learned about this, I want to say early this year, maybe around like February, March, something like that. Actually, it might have been longer ago than that. Geez, I don't know. But basically, Marvel Dungeons and Dragons. So this is going to be released summer 2023, the multiverse role-playing game rulebook. And then there will also be another sort of expansion of that as well. Let me get the name for you real quick. It is the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, the Cataclysm of Kang. Interesting title choice. But yeah, so 2 Marvel role-playing games. Benny, do you have any experience with like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like this?
So when I was a kid, I really wanted to get into Dungeons and Dragons, but I had no friends, and it's hard to do Dungeons and Dragons by yourself. So no.
Well, there's a Marvel one coming out next summer. I feel like we have to do like a laughing place, video of a.
We should totally do like a long campaign together, like every week. Just get together and throw our 20-sided die.
I think that would work really well. So yeah, again, summer 2023, the multiverse role-playing game rulebook will be released. Spidey and his amazing friends are coming to the Santa Monica Pier with the Glow Webs Glow pop-up this weekend. I am not familiar with Santa Monica Pier, so I cannot lay this out for you at all. I'm sure you have more context than I do, but it is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday and Saturday will be 2 to 6 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're going to have things like the electrifying Zorber stop, which is kind of going to be like a photo op kind of thing. Some immersive Spidey attractions, web course challenge, some Spidey snacks. So just some fun for a younger Spider-Man fan audience there.
Yeah, and I mean, Spidey and His Amazing Friends doing really well, so it's nice that it's getting a little love.
Yeah, cool to see that pop up. Like we've seen photo ops and things like that in the Disney parks, but it's cool to see it pop up elsewhere as well.
Yeah, and that's also where they did the big balloon display for Disney Plus Day last year. So
right, okay.
Out to that. It's kind of been a commonplace for these kind of activations for them for a while.
Makes sense. We also have a new Ghost Rider figure that is available for pre-order on Entertainment Earth right now, and expects to ship in January 2023. You can see you got this this chain accessory that is really, really cool and sort of posable, so you can get them in any sort of different position you want for your photos, your display, whatever you're going to do with Ghost Rider here. And again, this is available for pre-order on Entertainment Earth, and you can use code LPFAN at checkout, save 10%.
Woo, woo, free shipping.
Yeah, free shipping on orders of $39 or more. So you can take advantage of that as well. Well, finally, we'll finish up with some comic news. You mentioned while we were talking about Fantastic Four that was the finale for Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run. But he is going to be taking over Spider-Man again, which probably has a lot of Peter Parker fans nervous. And there was a trailer released for this upcoming first issue where we are going to see Moreland and Shathra team up to take on Spidey. Luckily, Spider-Man has some friends at his back as well, like Spider-Woman, Ghost Spider, Miles Morales, Silk. So, you got the whole Spider-Verse going here. And this threatens to be the end of the Spider-Verse. So this is pretty interesting. Moreland has always been a really interesting character in that it's like, I don't know, kind of feels like Dracula light, but also like it's just sort of a different version, like a different take on the character. So I'm interested to see more of him coming back as well.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's not the main Spider-Man title, right? This is sort of the end of the Spider-Verse story. So, which not that Dan Slott's the first guy to create a Spider-Man sort of universe, but really kind of blew it out. So, looking forward to seeing this, and his Spider-Man run is one of the best of all time. So,
yeah, that is definitely one of my favorites. Dan Slott is fantastic, so I'm looking forward to this. And Spider-Man #1 will be coming October 5th. And then we take a little bit of a jump from October. We're going to go all the way to December. December 7th, we will get Invincible Iron Man #1 from Jerry Dugan and Juan Frigeri. Basically, this is a Tony Stark that has lost everything, or he thinks everything. And now every assassin in the MCU, the Marvel Universe, is coming after him. So, lots for Tony to think about here. As he tries to fight off these assassins on his own without any of his former friends, I suppose. So be really interesting to see this one. I love this cover, by the way. This is some of my favorite art. So I'm looking forward to see what else this issue or this series gives us. This is coming off of Christopher Cantwell's Iron Man run, which will end in November with Iron Man number 750. So we'll have another big milestone issue coming up then. Next, we have a 5-part issue titled Monica Rambeau Photon. And this will be coming also in December. We don't have the date just yet. This is coming from Eve L. Ewing and Michael Sta. And this one is going to see Monica, like I said, 5-part issue, so it's a self-contained story here. It's going to see Monica making a cosmic delivery that seems like it's a very easy job that quickly becomes not so easy. So should be interesting to see how that goes. Monica is a character that obviously is getting some recognition in the MCU. So I like that we're seeing more and more of her in the comics lately. Finally, we have a new Infinity comic on Marvel Unlimited that debuted last week. Everyone's favorite characters, Ziggy Pig and Silly Seal. So, how familiar were you with Ziggy Pig, by the way?
Not very. I mean, when
Yeah.
Marvel did their 80th, I think, and they brought back, they kind of did comics around like the old school timely stuff.
Right.
And I know Frank Thierry and John Sorelli did like a print issue. And John is a good guy. I mean, we know him from his work at Marvel on non-creative stuff or not comics, and he's always been a good supporter of us. So we're happy to see that they are continuing this story in the Infinity comic form.
Yeah, and by the way, this comic is going to include. Are you ready for this list of characters? Howard the Duck, Jeff the Land Shark, Hit Monkey, Pizza Dog, Cosmo the Space Dog, Alligator Loki, basically every anthropomorphic animal in the Marvel universe. And some like Pizza Dog were just animals. So there you go. So it's a who's who in this Infinity comic. So I'm looking forward to checking. I got to go check this one out now. I missed the ball on it last week, but I will check this one out after this for sure. So yeah, that is going to do it. That is all of our Marvel news for this week. I think we're still sort of, as I described on Zacks of Life, it's sort of the calm between two storms, like coming off of San Diego Comic-Con and getting ready for Expo coming up in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the calm between the storms where we have like She-Hulk.
Sure, yeah. Well, that's calm these days, though. Just one show to talk about? That's nothing. But yeah, we're definitely going to have some Marvel news coming up pretty soon. I mean, we'll have next week. Oh, happy birthday!
What's your brother's name?
Next week,
we happy birthday. Just go, Alexander Lee's brother.
See, I tried to get Jeremiah to sing "Happy Birthday" on our Halloween preview this past week or past Monday, and he wouldn't do it. But so yeah, next week we're going to have another episode of She-Hulk to break down, some more Marvel comics, probably a little bit of Marvel news to talk about as well. You look like you have something else.
We're taking a break.
Yeah.
After next week. So we will probably do something special around D23 Expo, but we will not be doing this show for a little bit, namely because the D23 Expo and the post-Expo vacation. So yeah, so hopefully, like, I don't know. I don't think they're going to announce a lot of stuff, but I mean, I think they will at Expo. But I don't think we're going to get like a lot in between now and then, because why would you? That's weird. That being said, I'm always wrong about that. So you never know, especially with the way comic solicitations work and everything. But
right.
I'm excited for you've kind of hinted that episode 3 of She-Hulk's pretty good. So
every episode is good. So I can't even really spoil any one specifically. They're all so good.
I was very tired this morning when I was watching it, and then and I was running a little bit late. So I was like, if it wasn't for my laziness and not desire to get up, I totally would have forgot to like stay through the credits. So I'm glad I did.
Yeah, again, tag in every episode, or at least as far as I know, the first 4. So.
And that tag reminds me of what happens when I visit my family.
You become a Hulk and start carrying.
No, I become a She-Hulk actually. No, I have to set everything up all the time, constantly. Well, happy birthday, Alexander Lee's brother. I'm sorry we don't know who you are.
Yes, happy birthday. Yeah, like I said, we'll be back next week. We will have Zacks of Life on Monday to break down in more detail this episode of She-Hulk. We also have our episode that came out this past Monday. We broke down the first episode, and we did a fun draft as well. We fan casted the Fantastic Four with Mike Celestino, so that was a really fun one.
Oh, who do I want to be in Fantastic Four?
We had some good answers, I think. Specifically, Mike had some really good ideas. So definitely.
I don't know. I feel like I fan casted it, and then they made it, and then it wasn't as good as I wanted. Like Michael Chiklis was born to play the Thing, but then
I had a hard time with the Thing. I kept thinking of Michael Chiklis, but we made the rule you can't cast anyone who's already played the character or any of the characters. So,
yeah, Dave Bautista's probably off the table.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. So, like I said, we'll be back next week. And don't worry, during our break, Benji said we'll have, D23 Expo breakdowns. There will be no shortage of Marvel news coverage, whether it's on laughingplace.com, on our YouTube channel.
Big news, though, if you can't go to D23 Expo, the 3 Marvel panels will be live streamed. So the game showcase, the SpiderMan anniversary panel, and the other one the Four Scores podcast and featuring Marvel composers, composers that have done work on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So all 3 of those will be live streamed, so you can catch the fun. We'll still cover them, obviously, but if you're interested, I think it's basically comes to 1 a day, maybe. But the full live stream schedule is up as well on our website. But looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, we will see you all next week. So thanks, everyone.
Bye.